You guys, I'm so excited for today's episode. We have such incredible guests. We have Waverly Colville and John Guilyard. You guys, welcome to Seeing Other People.
Hi, we're so excited to be here.
This episode is a long time coming. We chatted back in December, I think, right?
I think it was like, December or January, somewhere around there.
And this was after I had posted a story about wanting to have couples come on to share like how they met and how their relationship progressed. And we briefly connected, and then life happens, and now we're doing this. I am so excited to hear your guys' story. I think it's like such a classic New York, not classic, but like classic and like a one for the books, like would see this in a movie of not just friends to lovers, but roommates.
Yes.
Yeah, random roommates.
Random roommates off of a Facebook housing group. That's how we met.
Unreal. And let's get into it. Before we really dive in, though, can you both share a little bit about, what was going on in your life before you met each other?
Yeah, so it was 2020.
Yeah.
So we were in the height of the pandemic. My birthday is March 6th. And so I had just celebrated my, was it 24th or 25th birthday?
Probably your 25th. And also like the 1 year anniversary
24th.
of being removed from offices and stuff. Because it was like March 6th. It was like the last day in offices. I felt like the year before. Yeah.
No, that was that year because it was 2020.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah.
That year feels like 2 years, honestly. My bad.
But yeah, so I had just celebrated my 24th birthday on March 6th of 2020. And then, as we all know, the world completely shut down. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. So I ended up going back upstate and living in my parents' house. And it was in we connected at like middle to end of May.
Yeah.
Of 2020, and I was trying to get out of my parents' house. At the time, I was living in the East Village and paying an obscene amount for a very small apartment. And I thought to myself, if we're all going to be working from home for the foreseeable future, I need more space for less money. And so I started looking at apartments in Brooklyn, and most people in their early 20s know the Facebook housing group Gypsy Housing, which is like a giant Facebook group full of people mostly early to mid 20s looking for roommates or apartments in New York. And so I had joined that Facebook group and was casually scrolling, and I saw...
I'll take it from here.
Okay, yeah.
Around the same time, during the pandemic, like everyone was leaving New York. I stayed in New York. So I had like a few months of just like living with another random roommate. And it wasn't like the best experience, to be honest, because like roommates as a whole is a mixed bag, let alone random roommates. And so I found an apartment around like May because I'm just like, my lease is ending and I need to find friends. I need to like hang out with people because like most of the people I hung out with moved like back to Atlanta or moved back because like we didn't know when New York was opening again. And so if people are going to be moving to New York while the rent is cheaper, we have to it was just a good opportunity to make a new circle of friends. And I interviewed like 30 people because I posted on Gypsy Housing, and I found the apartment first. And
it was a 4-bedroom loft in East Williamsburg, Bushwick area, right off the Morgan L.
It's actually right across the road from the podcast studio we're in. It's like,
That's so funny. So in a way, you put yourself in the position to interview your future friends.
Yes. And it was very much that because I had the whole lease was put in my name and everything. So I had to just find other people to split this. And the first person I found, she's great. They're great, but they weren't as strict with the interview process as me. So I interviewed like 20 people before I got to Waverly.
Yeah. So it was a 4-bedroom. 2 of the bedrooms were taken by you and Julian.
Yes.
And then you were trying to find 2 other people. And I remember for me, it was the middle of the night. I just was up late scrolling Gypsy Housing, being like, I love my family, but I need to get back to New York. And I saw John's post, and the apartment was beautiful. It was this beautiful, like, sun-drenched loft.
The building was formerly a warehouse.
Yeah.
So it has just like floor to wall, high ceilings, all windows. And so a lot.
So it was beautiful, bright. Yeah. And I saw the apartment and I was like, this is amazing. And then I clicked on John and Julian had both posted a little paragraph about themselves so people could message them. And I read it. I don't really remember what your paragraph said, but I was like, seems great. They seem normal.
Cool.
Yeah, they seem normal and nice enough to live with. And so I messaged John, and it was probably 2 or 3 a.m. And I wasn't expecting to get a response until the next morning.
Because why would you at that time?
Right. And I was like, I almost didn't message because I was like, oh, I don't want to like bother someone at 2 or 3 a.m. But I messaged, I just sent a little paragraph that like, hi, I'm Waverly, looking like you're posting great. I'd love to be considered or something like that. And then he responded right away. And I was like, what is this
John,
dude
what
doing
were you
up?
doing?
I've always had insomnia, and I think during the pandemic also when you're like the most alone, it's like whenever I slept the least, I was just like, okay, well, I'm just doing things. I don't know. Finding a new roommates is the correct answer.
Yeah.
And it didn't scare her away because honestly, like getting a DM back at 3 a.m. from like a random dude on the internet seems just like, I don't know. Part of my brain would have been like, this seems like a fake ad, like Facebook Marketplace trying to buy concert tickets, and they get this back, and you're like, you're not a real.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, you had responded back right away. And then I remember we talked for a while about how we wanted to decorate the apartment. We were getting excited because for those who don't know, the McKibben Lofts is kind of like an infamous building. And it used to be like a lot crazier back in like the 90s and early 2000s with like these huge parties and stuff like that. But it had kind of calmed down a little bit. And so we were just talking, and also it was the pandemic, so you couldn't have large gatherings. So my perspective of it was I wanted a big apartment, and I actually wanted more than 1 or 2 roommates. Like I was like looking for 3 or 4 bedroom apartments because I wanted to be social, but in sort of the safest way possible, and you could socialize with your roommates. So I was actually looking for a big apartment so I could have that socialization with people I lived with. So we were just Facebook messaging, like not all night. It was probably like 45 minutes or something, like just going back and forth with all these crazy ideas of what we wanted to do with this apartment. And this was before we had even FaceTimed or anything. So we decided to do a group interview. So it was,
well, yeah, I was gonna say, first you did a call with me, and then after I gave you the thumbs up, you had a call with Julian, and then you had a call with me and Julian, and then for the 4th round was you and Jack as the potential 4th roommate.
This is a competitive interview process. Well, John, let me ask you this. Like you said, you had interviewed like 20 people before Waverly. Like, what was it about her that made you be like, yeah, this person fits in? Was it that initial conversation where you were talking about the stage and the ring light, or was it like something else?
Well, it was honestly that. It was like she was easy to talk to, and I felt like sometimes I would talk to people, and because it was kind of like competitive, sometimes people would like oversell themselves and stuff like that, or try to, or kind of act like they're begging for the space. And we were just talking about like ideas of a cool future, and that's what kind of set apart all the people that I ended up choosing. Was more just vibes and excitement to build a home with strangers, kind of like reverse real worlding. Because
makes sense.
The call with, on the 4th round, the call with Julian, Waverly, and Jack, I told them, because Waverly and Jack were our like top 2 picks, but I was like, we want to take you to prom because prom with you would be magical, but we have backup dates. Like, but ideally, I think you guys, because also everyone had a kind of a different vibe to them.
We were all very different.
And like I said it, I was like, I don't know if like you and Jack, and we're going to try to visit him in Edinburgh this summer. I said on the call, like, I don't think you guys would have ever met or became friends outside of this scenario.
Yeah, right. That's true. I don't think most of us would have met or became friends.
I actually just remember the green light was for you.
What?
You were because Julian's a little introverted. You were if I wanted to throw a party or host something, you were like my ace in the hole.
Oh yeah.
You gave me the most voting power.
Yeah, because I would say like among the 4 roommates, there was also, by the way, we all lived together for 2 years.
Not a single fight.
We all became best friends. And John and like when we talk about these early days, it's not like we were attracted to each other at all. Like we were like bros, and we can get into that for sure. But like we were all very like well balanced. Like Jack was a musician. John's a painter and worked at NBC at the time. I was a TV producer. And Julian was a designer. And
She
so
was the art director for Women's Health.
So
Also,
we were all
I kind of
doing
looked at
different
everyone's
things.
resumes about yeah, like HBO did give her points at the time. Jack
Understandable.
went to Juilliard.
Yeah. So we were all very different and all very much on our own paths. And then we all moved into this apartment together. And it sounds too good to be true because most roommate stories do not end up like this, where four strangers end up living together. But it really was the most amazing experience. I loved living there. And yeah, then I obviously, you know, our relationship was born out of that apartment.
Yeah, and we all like jump at the opportunity to hang out with each other too. Like anytime
We were all
we're
friends,
driving
like genuinely. Yeah.
from Pennsylvania, we stop and visit Julian, and then we're going to try to visit Jack in Europe. Like,
yeah, so we're all still close. It's wonderful, and it sounds fake, but it's real.
It sounds fake because it sounds too good to be true. Like it's the ideal situation to end up in, and especially at such a difficult time in the world. But it's amazing like what came out of it for you guys. So when did things start to shift? Like at what point did the two of you realize like, oh, we're not just roommates, like we're really good friends? And then at what point did it go from, oh, we're really good friends to, wait a second, there might be something here?
and it was like over 2 years in, because prior to that, like anyone mentioned that Waverly was attractive, I would be protective. Like she was
He was literally like my older brother. Like there were no sexual vibes at all. I got asked though, because we became good friends just by
each other all the time.
Yeah, and for the first 2 years of us living together, John was dating someone else. I was single, but dating, you know, around on the apps and things like that. And so I would come home wine drunk and then like laugh about whatever like silly bad date I went on or things like that. And he was like literally like my older brother. Like if we were at a bar and a guy was being creepy, he would like step in. Like it was total bro vibes. And then once John's previous relationship ended, we would go to this singles mixer on Thursday nights and wingman each other. But the problem was we couldn't hang out too closely or else people would think we were talking because it's a singles event. So what we would do is we would each do laps around the bar and kind of like make eye contact from across the room. And John, like if John thought another girl was cute or whatever, sometimes he would like talk to her and then come over and talk to me to like make her jealous. You know what I mean? Or like if a guy was being weird, like he would always step in. Or so like we had this whole game where we were like wingmen. We went
to Coachella and slept like feet apart in a tent.
In the tent, yeah, as friends,
a girl tried to bring me to her tent, and and I did not want to go, and you were trying to push me so you could have the whole bed.
Yeah, I was like, go.
Did any friends ever say like, oh, you guys seem like you're more than friends? Like, are you sure you're just friends and not really into each other? Are you secretly like hooking up behind closed doors? Because
I did get asked that.
Yeah.
Did you?
I felt like you got that a lot more than me as guys.
Yeah.
Guys are just like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
I did get asked a couple of times because I didn't get asked that until kind of the couple months right before we dated, because John was in a relationship before. So like there was nothing there, you know, between us. Like he was, literally my bro. So
we went to Costa Rica and Coachella
together as friends, which sounds crazy.
Separate rooms.
But yeah. And so, but once John was single and we started like traveling together, like going to Costa Rica together, going to Coachella together as friends, nothing happened. My friends would ask like, okay, you guys like totally hooked up at Coachella, like don't lie. And I was like, no, like I swear to God, like we slept like back to back, like in a tiny tent, but like as far away from each other as possible. Like it was not like that at all. And then it was the summer of 2022, right? 2023, 2022. Yeah. It
was like right before I started a new job and I was 29.
Yeah, so it was the summer of 2022. We had lived together for 2 years at that point and we're totally platonic. And my first thought was of like, oh wait, is this weird how close we are? I was going scuba diving. It was 4th of July, because I remember it was your birthday, and I remember FaceTiming you for your birthday, and his birthday's July 6th. And I was solo traveling. I love to solo travel and to scuba dive. So I was in the Cayman Islands scuba diving, and I remember FaceTiming him like every single night because I was alone. So I would like be at dinner and like, or like, you know, back from the day and like FaceTiming him from my room. And at the time, it didn't feel weird because we would talk every night anyway because we lived together. So it was just an easy like, yeah, I'm obviously going to talk to John every night. But then I did have the thought of like, wait, roommates don't like FaceTime when the other one's away though, generally, right? Like that's like most roommates don't FaceTime every night. So I kind of had this thought of like, oh, that's weird. But then I was like, oh, wait, no. Like I wasn't ready to like see if there was like more feeling. I was like immediately like, oh, no, like he's like my brother. Like, no. But that was my first inkling. Like when I look back, I was like, huh, that was kind of the first like little flag of something.
It's weird because at that point, I was just like, Waverly is into me. You were like calling me.
Wow.
I remember talking to Jack and being like, because Jack was in Edinburgh. That's whenever he first moved.
No,
and
that wasn't until September. That was when I was in Sri Lanka.
Okay. Right? Oh yeah, you were calling. Well,
I want to see your passport.
That was the first time. That was the first time. I guess around the second time, I guess that's when I had confirmation.
Yeah.
You like me because I remember you calling me every night, and I'm just like, Waverly's super into me, and I called Jack, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure. But like the last thing I wanted is a woman living with me feeling uncomfortable. Like, so I would not like. Just wouldn't entertain me liking you.
I had to make all the first moves
because I just don't want you feeling unsafe in your own home.
Yeah, and I knew that about you because I knew that you would, because even when there started to be like some bubbling of sexual tension, I knew in my head, I was like, John's not going to make a move because I know he doesn't want to like make things awkward. And also it's like just the dynamic of like a male pursuing, like I knew I had to be the one to initiate. So yeah, so that was the first inkling, was in July. And then I had traveled again in September to Sri Lanka and was FaceTiming him, and it was a 12.5-hour time difference. So I'd FaceTime him every morning and every night, and it was his like opposite, you know. And I remember being like, at that point there was definitely a lot of sexual tension, but I think neither one of us.
Was that Sri Lanka or the Cayman Islands?
No, that was Sri Lanka.
Okay. I remember you also FaceTiming.
No, the Cayman Islands was in July. Okay, Sri Lanka was in September. Okay. Yeah, so like that summer we had gotten closer and closer. We were going to those singles events like every Thursday, and it was at that point. Yeah. And it was at that point where there was definitely a lot of sexual tension for sure, but I didn't want to make a move because I was like, oh, but like, what if it goes poorly, or like what if things get awkward, or it was a high risk situation, you know, because if things go wrong with like a friend, you can maybe like avoid them or like, you know, not hang out with them for a couple weeks. If things go wrong with a roommate, you're seeing them all day every day.
We just signed a new lease.
We had just signed a new lease too, so we were locked in for another 12 months if things had gone wrong. Luckily they didn't.
Yeah, you also knew that because you were going to be the one to have to make the move, like you had to be 110% sure if you wanted to pursue this. Was there any point along the way, like between the Cayman Islands and Sri Lanka trip, where you were going to these single events, like setting each other up, and either of you started to feel a little jealous, or like you didn't want the other person meeting someone else?
Okay, question, because I remember I got these girls' numbers, and they invited me to a party at their house where I was the only new person there. And so I was kind of the belle of the ball, and I brought you with me.
I was his wingman that night. No, I wasn't jealous that night. I was
odd that night.
But the only time I remember, because we didn't talk about it because it's obviously kind of an intense thing to talk about. So, but I remember feeling jealous when we were, wait, this is embarrassing to admit, but we were at Izu.
Oh.
We went to Izu, and like John was just talking to another girl, and I remember being like, who is she? Like, what? I remember being like, what is, you know what I mean? Like being in my head about it. And so that was also another sign where I was like, I shouldn't be jealous that my roommate's like talking to a girl. Like he's talked to a million girls in front of me. I've literally encouraged it. And then now something's different. And I was like, God.
It's okay to say that the girl I was talking to, she was also on MDMA. She was on Molly, and she was we were at Izu, and like she was like trying to calm down, and she touched my arm, and she was like, where? I did not notice these. And then like that.
And then I
each time
remember sending daggers. No, she's a nice person. It's nothing personal, but I remember in that moment being like, she's touching his arm. What the
Yeah.
fuck? Like, I remember being like, what? Because at that point there was like a lot of sexual tension between us, but we hadn't talked about it yet, and we hadn't like done anything. It was just like this unspoken, like, clearly there's tension there sort of moment. And so I remember being like, oh, he better not be flirting with a girl in front of me, even though he's done that 100 times before, but this time it's different.
Right, of course. Okay, so what was the moment or the conversation that changed things?
Yeah. Do you want to tell our first kiss story?
Well, I think I kind of like gave you. I mean, I kind of gave you a thumbs up, like right before you went to Sri Lanka. I drove you to the airport, and I was just like, "Yo, I'm like low key into you," and you're like, "Are you doing a bit?" And I'm like, "I don't know, am I?"
Yeah, because we do bits and we like joke around and like play characters. So I wasn't sure if he was doing a bit, but he did say I'm low key into you. And I was like, "Are you doing a bit right now?" And he goes, "I don't know." He goes, "I don't know." And then I got on a plane to Asia. So then I was like,
I was like,
like,
"Should I say goodbye when I drop you off?"
well, yeah, I was like, he was literally dropping me off at the airport, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to Asia for 2 weeks, so we'll pick that back up. Yeah, I didn't really, so I just was like, okay, like I don't really know what to do with that. But then we ended up FaceTiming every night and every morning when I was there, and it was not brought up at all. It was very much just
Also,
like catching each other up on our days. And then
huge for you at that time also, similar, like the time difference in Sri Lanka, you would call me, what would be 3 a.m. here, and just like, oh, he's up.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
kid
because
doesn't
as
sleep.
we've learned, you're nocturnal. But yeah, so our first kiss, so we had gone out the night before, and a lot of people assumed that our first kiss was just like some drunken makeout, but it was actually, we were sober, and it was at like 9 a.m.
The night
So
before, I
when,
came home drunk and I sang like every Rihanna song.
yeah, and
Every
As one
like,
does.
she
Yeah.
has such a history library, right? Like there are songs you forget and you're like, oh, that was a banger.
yeah, so he was like drunk singing Rihanna or whatever, and then we fell asleep on the couch.
Because I was like, I don't feel like we lived in we had lofts, so I had to climb a ladder, and I was like, I don't feel like going up all the way to my bed. And you're like, then stay.
So we fell asleep on the couch together.
At that point, also, anytime we're by each other, she's playing with my hands.
You tried to hold my hand first, so don't even.
Oh, I did that to give you the go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I
you
know
guys
that
were
you
giving each other
masterminding.
signals.
Yeah,
There were signals.
yeah, there were signals. Yeah, we were like lightly holding hands.
Just like a little bit of finger, like, I don't know.
And also, like, there was one time when we were at Elsewhere and a guy was hitting on me and coming on pretty strong, and you were like, bro, like, you're even, this was a guy that it was like a friend of a friend. This was a friend of a friend. So we had just met him, and he was like flirting and coming on pretty hard to me. And then
the first
you
sentence
had said,
I heard from this individual was, "Yo, she's single, or she with him?"
And so then you went to
like,
the friend.
that energy coming into my sister. I'm just like,
but you had gone to your friend and you were like, I don't like this guy, and he was like, why are you being so jealous? Like, because we had gone to all these singles events before, so it was like we both had a moment where another person was flirting with us, and then the other person didn't like it, and that was like a change. But we got to get to our first kiss because. So, okay, so you were singing Rihanna drunk, and then we had just fallen asleep on the couch, and then in the morning, another go ahead that I thought John was asleep, but I got up and brushed my teeth and then came back and laid back on the couch in the morning.
You knew what you
so
wanted.
I knew it was going to happen.
And
yeah. But I thought John was asleep. I thought I was being slick, but I guess I wasn't. John was
I'm a light sleeper, if I sleep at all.
And you were like, she's brushing her teeth. This is a sign.
Because you came back. Yeah, because like most of the time also, like we fell asleep on the couch before, but I would leave in the morning. I'd wake up at like 5 a.m. and be like, go back up. So this morning was, and you told me before that would make you sad. But that morning I stayed and you brushed your teeth and I was like, I feel like I should kiss you right now. Because also I'm always asking for consent.
Yeah. You said, so I came back from brushing my teeth and like pretended to fall back asleep on the couch, but I was awake, obviously. And then you like rolled over and you were like, you said something like, I thought about kissing you last night or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I want to kiss you now. It was something like that. I don't remember. And then I think I said, then do it.
Yeah.
And then we started making out on the couch.
Shut up.
Tipped over. The couch tipped over, and like, you know how there's like an arm in a futon that like that supposed to hold the backside. That part snapped, and so the
Yeah.
couch toppled.
So we broke the couch.
During your first
And-
kiss.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we just started kissing on the couch, and then we've been together for almost 3 years now.
Also, at the same time, we just got a new roommate who's like one of my good friends that week, but he went on a European trip with his brother. So like he was gone, like the night we kissed, he left at 5 a.m. that morning.
Yeah.
And
so then
we had we were playing house, just me and you, for like the next week.
And then we had to tell our new roommate, hey, we're dating.
Oh my God.
Because
Okay,
he
wait.
didn't know.
Wait, so okay, you kiss, you break
Yeah.
the couch, and then did you have conversations of like, okay, well, we pressed go, now we're doing this, like we're dating now? Or did you have to say, okay, let's pause and like talk about what our intentions are here? Because you kissed your roommate. That's a big deal.
I had to let you drive all of that because I didn't. The last thing I wanted is for us to kiss, and then I'm just like, now you're trapped with me. You know, like I didn't want. Again, it was more about you feeling comfortable. So like me internally, it was like I was weighing in on what you wanted, because I didn't know if you wanted it to date or if you just wanted to be that kind of roommate. I don't know. like a Nick and Zoe Deschanel New Girl kind of situation.
Yeah. So we actually, before we kissed, so while we were just friends, we had already planned a trip upstate to go apple picking.
Oh,
and so
I 100% knew that was a date, though.
That wasn't
At
a date.
point,
No, it wasn't a date.
Waverly was like,
we were just friends.
and she would walk up to me like, I'm so excited to go apple picking with you. And walk away. And I'm just like, okay, yeah.
But so that was planned when we were just friends still. And so our first kiss was a Sunday morning because we had gone out Saturday night. So our first kiss was a Sunday morning. And then the apple picking trip was planned for the following Saturday. So 6 days later. And that whole week, obviously, we're kissing and, and we go on this apple picking trip, and then we get home, and then we talked about it after. And I don't remember how we talked about it exactly. We definitely had to have a conversation, though, because I remember thinking in my head, like, okay, if we don't really talk about exactly what's going on here, I don't want there to be any sort of, one, awkwardness, or two, assumption that I would be okay with you just like, I don't know, going on Hinge dates in front of me now. You know what I mean? Like there had to be some like boundaries set, and also just some like clear conversation happening.
And with that, I was like, do you want me to be your boyfriend? You have to ask me.
Yeah, he made me ask him.
I'm the belle of the ball.
Yeah. So he was like, oh yeah, well, if you want to date, just ask me. But I wanted him to ask me to be his girlfriend. But I remember at that point, I was just like, okay, fine. Like, I remember just giving it. I was just like, fine, do you want to, I don't know, be my boyfriend? Like, I remember being really awkward about it. And then you were like, yeah, that's fine.
I put my hands to my face like you had a wedding ring open.
Yeah.
Like, yes. Yes.
Aww.
Yeah. And so, we talked about it 6 days after we kissed. And so we were on a very like expedited timeline compared to most relationships, because that conversation normally happens like couple months in, but we had to do it that week basically because we lived together, so we couldn't obviously date other people or anything like, or we had to make sure that the boundaries were clear, so we were each respectful of one another.
Things move fast, but also at the same time, like we've already cohabitated and stuff. Like you've already met handfuls of my family. I met handfuls of your
things move so fast because like I always joke we did things in reverse that most couples do. So most couples like date for 2 years and then move in together. We moved in and lived together for 2 years and then dated. So that's why things move so fast, is because I'm like, I already know you so well, like I don't have to see you like for the first time in pajamas. Like I've seen that for 2 years, so
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about like you both got to know each other on like in every aspect. You got to know like the happy versions of each other, the sad versions, the stressed versions, the excited versions, like the in crisis versions, the dressed up, the fresh out of bed crying. Like you probably got to see everything, which then when you decided like, okay, I do have feelings for the other person, I do want to do this, it's like, okay, we know what we're signing up for, versus okay, meeting somebody, kind of deciding you like them, but you still really don't know them.
100%.
Plus, and you said it as a plus too. You've seen me in other relationships because, like, I had a girlfriend for 2 of the years we lived together.
Yeah. Yeah. And at that point,
I
it's not like,
boyfriend.
Yeah. And it's not like I was like waiting for them to break up or anything like that. Like at the time, I literally saw him as my brother. So it wasn't like I wasn't jealous or anything. Like, you know, it was.
But I was, again, just,
But
I
like
checked the box of like
subconsciously,
not being a bad
yeah,
potential boyfriend.
if I saw you like cheat on your previous girlfriend or be like really bad to her, I would have never given you a chance, you know? And so I kind of also had that advantage because most people, when they start dating, they don't see the other person in their previous relationship. So, you know, I kind of had that perspective. And also we got to know each other without there being any pressure because I felt like when I was single and on Hinge and Tinder and all the apps or whatever, there was always like kind of like a bit of a built-in pressure when you were getting to know somebody, you know, but him, like, there was no pressure because he was just my roommate, you know, he was just the dude that I lived with. There was no pressure. And so we got to genuinely know each other and like each other before there was any sort of added layers to it.
And it's wild. I think this is way before we dated, but like, it's like you would sleep with other individuals and you'd be like, I hate when guys cuddle. and I was just like, I'm like the cuddliest dude, and then I started dating you, and I guess I taught you to cuddle because you're like the cuddliest person in the whole world.
Well, it's because I like you. The other guys,
like, I really softened you up.
Yeah, he did.
You don't want to cuddle with the wrong person.
Yeah,
for sure. Okay, what about your friendship changed when you went from being roommates to in a relationship? Because you were friends when you were roommates, you're still friends in a relationship, but obviously things were different.
We have sex now, so that's positive.
Like when we were just friends, no sex at all. But
I don't know, like,
I don't know,
we're more silly together now, and we're more like, we obviously like physically touch, like hold hands and cuddle and things like that, which we didn't do as friends.
Honestly, so, and you weren't a silly person or even an affectionate person.
You're making me sound mean.
No, it's not mean, but like you didn't hug me until like a year into living with me.
I'm not naturally like a very like touchy feely person, but I am now with him.
Yeah, with the other roommates, they would like look at me across the room and be like, hey, can I have a hug? And I'm like,
yeah, I would never do that. Yeah. Until now. Like, now that we're dating, I ask for hugs. But yeah,
I would say every night to everyone, like, okay, good night, I love you. And you were the only one who didn't say it back, and you'll say it back.
Now you'll say
it back.
I
said good night. Yeah. I said good night, but I didn't say I love you. Yeah. But now I say I love you all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, it's hard to say because we did a lot of accidentally relationshipy things as friends, like not physical stuff, but like we literally went on multiple trips together as
it's
just
a lot
friends.
More inherent. Before, I guess we had a lot more of our inherent solo plans, and then we would invite each other to tag along, and then we started being more like
together planning.
Yeah.
What were people's reactions like when you told friends and family and other roommates involved?
Oh my God,
like,
I saw this coming. Like all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I think a lot of some of our friends thought we were joking when we told them because, like I said before, we do a lot of bits and like joking around. And we really commit to the bit. And so a lot of people thought we were not serious. And they were like, we were at Mr. Sunday's, which is like a party in Bushwick at this.
I think it's technically Ridgewood, but
nowadays. And we were with a couple of friends. And I think I just said something like, so like John and I are dating now.
Okay,
and then they were like, no, you're not. And then we kissed.
So excited. So, like, he's like, I'm going to tell, like, it was like 3 of her friends, then they're all dudes, but like we're pretty close. They hang out with us a bunch, and she was just like, I can't wait to tell them. I can't wait. It's like how like she's like announcing again. I felt like the belle of the ball, and
I was excited.
Your best friend, he wasn't able to make it too. That was a big letdown. We weren't even sure if we were going to tell anybody. And then the way she told them was like, we're outside at this like outdoor rave, and she's like, hey guys, guess what? Me and John kiss now. And then she kissed me.
And then they thought I was joking. And they're like, "You're not being serious." And I was like, "Yes, I am. We're dating now." And they're like, it took them a second, but then they believed it. And then, so
And then
yeah.
we had to FaceTime Ryan.
Yeah, and tell him. But yeah, most of our friends were super excited. They already knew how close we were. And it's not like they were strangers to John. Like, he would come to parties with me all the time. And so, like, he was at that point, like, basically part of my friend group already. And so when we started dating, I don't think anybody was surprised. I think everyone was really excited and happy. I know my family was excited. John's my first, like, serious relationship, and the first person I called my boyfriend. Like, I've, like, dated other people before, but it was really never serious and never putting a label on it. But he's my first boyfriend. And
Our
so,
family threw us. It's called a sip and see. It's normally done with a baby, where just like all the parents are there and just like meet the baby for the first time. It's a party.
but they
Oh my
threw one for
God.
my mom, threw a sip and see for John. So she invited all her friends to come meet my boyfriend first time he was in Buffalo, and they called it a sip
There's a
and see.
small
You know
parade.
what?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that more moms don't do that.
It was a really efficient way for him to get to know
Yeah.
a bunch of people
so
who I grew up
funny.
with and family friends. So, but yeah,
That's
I think
hilarious.
both of our families were excited, right?
Yeah, both of our families were excited, and I remember even like my best friend Vinny. I remember him crying at the couch how happy he was.
Yeah. So, yeah, John's best friend from college, Vinny, is the one who we went to visit together in Costa Rica because he lived down there. And I remember, yeah, when he came and he was like kind of drunk, but he was like started crying on the couch, and he was like, "Your love is just so pure." Like, he started crying because he was like, "This is just such a good story." So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
so everyone was really supportive in our lives, luckily.
For anyone who is wondering, like, is their best friend or the person that they view as a brother or sister, like that person who they talk to all the time, are they the one, or are they somebody they want to be more than friends with? What advice would you give them in terms of exploring that?
As a guy, I feel like that's like a double-edged sword, because that's like the high school 80s movie trope of a boy pining over his best friend, like Pretty in Pink style. Like it's like, let her take the lead, I guess. I don't.
Yeah, I would say take baby steps and then see how they react, and then if there's like positive reactions, slowly up the ante. Like, don't go out and just kiss your friend. Like, do not do that. That's like bad advice.
It can be confusing if you don't talk about it.
Yeah, but I would say like how we did it is we took really small steps. Like, one day you like brushed my arm, and then we started, and then you like would like play with my hand for a second and then like pull away. Like, don't do more than just like a little bit. And then if they like pull back or like act cold, or like they're like, "What are you doing?" then be like, "Oh, sorry." Like,
After
then back
a while,
off.
you were like actively
But
reaching
now,
for my hand.
yeah, and then I started reaching out. Like, my reception was warm, so that's kind of like the green light to go ahead. I also think in heterosexual situations, I think obviously it's different depending on, like, the genders of who is in the couple, or potential couple. But I think in heterosexual situations, I think the girl has to take a little bit of the lead, just because I know a lot of guys, like, yeah, you didn't want to make me uncomfortable because you're like respectful. You're like, I don't want to.
The line between like being a creepy dude is very thin,
Yeah.
and so it's
Yeah,
about,
you don't want to like
making sure
cross
you're
any boundaries.
comfortable,
Yeah.
and again, the friendship is strong, and that's, I feel like, was more important from the jump, I guess. And it was, yeah. I'm not saying that the male shouldn't have any autonomy in a heterosexual relationship, but I did not want to.
Yeah, you don't want to cross any boundaries. Yeah.
Right.
I think I think just doing like small things and seeing what the reception is, and then slowly like warming up, and then eventually, there'll come a point where, like, for us, there came a point where it was like, something's gonna happen, like 100%, like, it's undeniable. It's
Also,
like
if you're
a ticking time
good
bomb.
friends, you know each other's nonverbal cues too. Like, and it really becomes a lot of reading nonverbal cues and then verbalizing them.
Yeah, and you can also like do it differently than we did, and just like talk about it first and then kiss. Like, that's not how we did it, but like, if there's like things are really flirtatious and maybe there's a lot of sexual tension between you and your friend, like, maybe you could like bring it up. I don't know
I
how,
think
but
the
like,
key is just so there's just not a lot of pressure on either person,
yeah,
because it's very easy to scare someone away by
and
being like, I'm in
prioritize
love
the
with you,
yeah.
and like that's putting someone in an ultimatum situation when
Mhm.
we were in just a regular matum situation.
Yeah,
What
I
about
think yeah,
what about when it comes to being afraid that you're going to ruin the friendship? Did you
yeah,
guys
that
have that fear at all?
100%. Not only ruin the friendship, but
The
ruin the
roommate ship.
apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had that fear big time. Did you?
yeah, because like uh,
How could
I
you not?
managed the apartment,
Yeah.
like, and I the whole time I was thinking, I don't want you to be uncomfortable, and we just got a new roommate. I don't want him to be uncomfortable. Uh,
I
yeah,
yeah, I think just prioritizing the friendship above all is really important.
because I mean, like, that's a relationship is like your best friend that you're just like having sex with, I guess.
Yeah.
No, where just like more than that. And so, like, again, if to the fellas listening and females listening, if you're in love with your best friend, the best thing you can do is also just trust them to do what's best for them and hope make sure that's you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like advice. It's so hard because that was something that I really thought about, and I was like, yeah, if I fuck this up, or if we kiss and then things are awkward, like this is going to be a nightmare to have to deal
Mhm.
with for the next 12 months. So like like do I take that risk? And luckily for us it worked out, but I don't know, it's hard. I I don't know what advice to give other than I guess just communicate clearly and put the friendship first. Like let's say, a friend one friend is, feeling romantically towards the other and the other one doesn't. Like don't be, I don't know, like
Or
it's okay to be upset if like feelings get hurt or things like that. Like your feelings are valid, but also like if you prioritize the friendship and make sure that you guys are on a strong foundation and
and
try
then
not to be resentful and just treat each other with kindness,
and
I
then
think.
low key build situations where you'll have one-on-one time
Mhm.
incrementally, and try to find the right situation for it to potentially happen if you can tell both vibes are happening, and if not, just say sorry, I misread the situation.
Yeah.
No.
I
Yeah,
I
you can always back
agree.
off.
Yeah.
For sure. I also think there's something to be said about you guys took things so slowly as you figured out what your feelings were before actually acting on them. And I think that's probably a huge part of the reason why you both were able to get there on your own time and the way part of the reason why it worked out. Like I think instead of jumping the gun and, the first time you're thinking, "Oh, maybe I have feelings for my friend, let me do something about it." It's like slow down, like
Yeah.
really explore this and figure out like what those feelings are and what they mean. And is it just are you just filling a void because you don't have feelings for someone else right now and they're around and they're the person you talk to, or is it really because you like them?
100%. Yeah, I think taking things slowly is huge because it allows you both to get comfortable as you
Mhm.
like if things are progressing as you slowly progress, if things move too fast, it's kind of I don't know. I'm a scuba diver, so it's kind of like descending too fast and then getting like the pressure in your ears. You have to
Mhm.
descend slowly. That's like the number one lesson in scuba diving. You have to go to each level slowly, let your body adjust, and then you can go down deeper.
And it's also, I guess, on top of it, it's like there's intuition, I guess. Like there was tension building that we both noticed, and like I think it's impossible. There's tension where in a way where it wasn't awkward.
Mhm.
Like none of it was. I felt like the awkwardness comes whenever you're both not feeling the vibe or both
Yeah.
scared. But then if you're both scared, it's because you're both neither you're communicating. So it's
Yeah, you got to communicate.
communicate, even if it's just non-verbally.
For sure. Okay, what does your living situation look like now? Because I know you guys have moved from that first apartment, correct?
Yes,
Correct. Yeah, we
we have
found
2 dogs.
yeah, we found a new apartment because though we loved our original apartment, we had gotten a dog, and so we wanted a place with outdoor space, and we also just wanted a place with just us two now that we were dating. And so, excuse me. So we still live in Bushwick. We live like less than a mile away from where our original apartment was. And yeah, we have a wonderful apartment with on the first floor with a basement. It's a 2-bedroom apartment because as roommates
We
who've
still have
always lived
our
together,
own
we
room.
still have our own rooms because that's just what
Okay.
we're used to. So we have a 2-bedroom apartment and we have a backyard for our dogs. So that's how we live now.
And that is something where I do notice, and it's not trad wife. It's I have friends who are like, oh, they moved in with their partners. Like, oh, is your girlfriend doing your laundry and stuff? And it's just like we've always done our own laundry.
Yeah.
Like our laundries have never became a shared laundry. It was because there's a lot of things that we did as roommates first, and so we like having 2 rooms, kind of. The bedroom only has one closet. We're both used to having our own closets. So we have 2 bedrooms, our own
Yeah. I don't
closets.
think we could have a 1 bedroom unless it was a really big one
One
bedroom.
bed. We just have 2 kind of
Yeah, we sleep
our own.
together.
Yeah, we have our both of our individual rooms.
Yeah. So like my bedroom is the bed or the room with the bed in it. So we both sleep in my bedroom, but it has all my things. It has all my clothes, my desk where I work, and then the second bedroom is basically John's bedroom, but there's just no bed in there.
Yeah,
So it's all of
Got it.
John's like clothes and stuff
it's like
like
my
that.
office, but it also has dressers and closet. Yeah,
Honestly,
Yeah.
that's the most ideal living situation I've heard of in New York City, and I feel like when someone hears that for the first time, they might be like, "What? What do you mean?" But if you think about it, a lot of people who don't live in New York City have more, like a lot of couples have more than one bedroom to put their stuff in. And so I think that's awesome that you guys were able to find a place that works where you have space. You are able to, even go into different rooms if you want to do something different than the other. If one's working and one's hanging out, you have the outdoor space for your dogs. I think it's actually like an ideal situation so that you're not on top of each other all the time. And I think it's really cool that you still kind of keep some of the dynamics that you had before, where like you each have like the different laundries, like different things that you did before, you still get to do and kind of maintain that independence within the relationship.
Yeah, it's awesome that we have a built-in roommate dynamic because I have friends who have been in relationships and then they moved in with their partner and then they've had to
Mhm.
navigate that and they're not used to seeing their partner in
and that
a
could be a
roommate
real
situation.
deal breaker
Yeah,
for people too.
A
It's
lot of
like
couples fall apart at that point or
totally.
start fighting a lot or things like that, but we have that built in. Like I knew he was compatible to live with, and so it just it worked out. Like we're super lucky in that regard.
plus 2 bedrooms always get you a bigger living room.
True.
And with New York, like if you get a 1 bedroom apartment, it's like almost a studio. So
Yeah, unless you're flexing the second
yeah.
bedroom, then your living room gets cut in half.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is so awesome. I'm so excited for you guys. And I feel like your story just goes to show like you can go from friends to partners. You can also go from roommates to partners. But I think it just shows like you can meet someone anywhere and to always just be yourself and, get to know people. Like maybe you're not going to, go on a first date with somebody and then decide, oh, this person's the person I'm meant to be with. Maybe you're actually going to form a friendship with somebody over a long time and then realize, wow, like maybe the two of us actually could be more than friends. And I think that's a beautiful takeaway. I also cannot believe this happened from the gypsy housing group. Of course, I
Yeah.
know and have spent hours and hours in that group. That is crazy.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky for sure. Yeah, I mean, no relationship is perfect, right? We definitely we all have, our fights and our problems, but I think that because we've been
The foundation
the
of
foundation is so
Totally.
meeting on
strong.
gypsy housing.
Yeah. that yeah, I think that we prioritize our friendship within our relationship so much and we both still have fun. Like we still have like the same friendship dynamic that we had. Like just have fun with one another.
With friends also, I do feel like it's easier since we started as friends, it's easier for us to want to see each other be the best versions of ourselves versus the kind of laundry you pull into whenever you meet someone on a dating app or like start dating someone with the expectations of what a girlfriend should be, what a boyfriend should be, where just like we became each other's boyfriend and girlfriend, but we still want each other to be the best Waverly, the best John. Not that other couples don't, but it's not putting you in girlfriend as the title
Right.
first. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
a multi hyphenate.
Thanks.
No, I think it's actually a really good point, and it is something that is unique to the way you met and the way you were able to form that friendship and understand each other. And you got to see what each other's like best days were like before, and you want to prioritize like allowing the other person to have as many of those, whether it's by giving them the space to explore their own passions or by supporting them in whatever way. I think that's a really amazing thing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we end every episode with one question, and I would love to have an answer from each of you. And that is, what is the best piece of dating or relationship advice you've ever received or have to give?
Kiss your roommate. I'm just kidding. 99% of cases, don't kiss your roommate. But no, I think I think there's something to be said about taking the risk even though you're scared. Like, we were in a very heightened situation and it was very high risk, high reward. Like, one wrong move and like we could be enemies right now, or and it
Yeah.
could have like ended things on a sour note because we were roommates and then things got awkward and then there was resentment and then I moved out and never spoke to him again. Like, that's a path that could have happened and I'm so
Totally.
grateful it didn't. So I think there's something to be said on taking, I would say, smart calculated risks in terms of like, I didn't just go up and kiss him out of nowhere. Like, we both gave each other little signs of like, okay, keep going, keep doing this. And it was very slow. It was very incremental. There was no like jumping to
But there was
crazy
a tipping
conclusions or
point.
anything like that. And we really waited till like you could both sense both of us were ready.
Yeah.
And I think that
Till the glass was half full. Like.
And so I think that there's something to be said about, like, take things slow. Like, don't, I think this is something that I experienced when I was dating, when, you'd be on your third date with someone that you met on an app or just like a stranger you maybe met through friends of friends or something. And then there's all this pressure on like the third date, the fourth date, the fifth date of like, okay, what is this? Who is, you know what I mean? And like, what is he my future husband? Or like, or he like blinked weird. Is that a deal breaker? Like, all these, like, like small things that like you get really hung up on. And that's something that I really, struggled with. But I think I don't know. Is that advice? Like, it's
No,
so
I
hard because
completely,
our
Yeah.
I
situation's
completely
so
get it.
unique. Most people don't date their roommate, but I think if you're in a situation where you're getting to know somebody, look for the signs, take calculated risks, but still be vulnerable and put yourself out there. And dating is risky in terms of like putting your heart and your emotions out there. And so I would say don't let the world make you jaded. Still be vulnerable and open and take calculated risks.
I love it. I love it. John?
And mine, falls more along the lines of like, kind of, me and Waverly fell in love because like, just be yourself. Like whenever you're with roommates and stuff, it's like she just saw me be myself all the time. Where we pointed out that we were different people. Like, I remember I had a job interview, and it was like 10 minutes before the job interview, and I look at my watch and I got to put a shirt on. And like, she was like kind of bugging. She's like, we were such different people.
Because I would be ready at my computer like 45 minutes before, like, and I'm very type A. He's very like laissez-faire. So
B plus in my
yeah.
but like, we fell in love because like we saw each other being ourselves and being authentic and genuine. Where I feel like, and if things didn't work out, I would also think wasn't personal. It was just you being you. Like, I don't know. Look at any dating partners as just like a person doing their best, and you try to do your best, and hopefully like those things collide. Like, we were never trying to be something else for each other.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, and this is something
Especially
I did.
early on dating, that's like,
Yeah, you're projecting whatever version of
you're
yourself.
selling a version. Like, you saw me in a relationship as well as like happy, sad, shirtless right before a job interview. Like,
So yeah, I think good advice for people who are dating is don't put on a front, or don't
just be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't act like how you think the world wants you to act. Be genuine.
But then
you'll attract someone
that
genuine.
allows the other person to be themselves too. Like, because you're trying, if you're trying to date someone, you're not trying to date a fictional version of them. They're not trying to date a fictional version of you. Or maybe you guys are about doing that, but you compromise by being yourself.
Yeah. And the more you put on a front early on, the more it's going to lead to problems down the line, because then someone's going to be like, wait, this isn't the person I thought I was dating. So
sorry, that wasn't very practical and applicable advice.
No, but it honestly, it makes so much sense. And I think you're spot on. Like, you guys both fell in love with the truest versions of each other. And that's why you're now 3 years into your relationship and you completely get each other and you're thriving and you're growing together and individually in your relationship too. Like, it's because you saw the real versions of each other. And to Waverly's point, not like this facade that someone was putting up. And then suddenly they're like, oh no, now I have to undo pretending to be the chill girl because I'm actually not chill and I have needs. And now I'm afraid to express those. Like, that might get you to like the next date, or that might get you the label, but that doesn't get you a real relationship.
100%. Yeah. And the truer you are early on, the more you're going to like end up with someone who actually matches you, not the version of yourself that you want to present for whatever reason,
Waverly and John, this was amazing. I'm so happy for you guys. Shout out again, Gypsy Housing, phenomenal Facebook group, hottest new dating app in town.
Yes.
This was awesome. Super stoked for you guys. Is there anything that you want to shout out, anywhere people can, continue to check in on your relationship and life, or you can also say no?
There's an article on
Business Insider did an article on us, so you can read that, even though you just heard our story here. But
my Instagram, I drew a comic that was I give her as a Valentine's Day gift. Instagram, aww. My name is Gilly, MyNameisGilly.
Yeah, he's an artist, so he drew a comic of our relationship evolving on the couch in our living room. And so it was like us being friends and like playing video games together, and then us kissing.
The book is just the image of the couch, and like the first page is the couch empty and us sitting on it side by side playing video games, doing stuff. The last page.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
just us hanging out.
Look at that on John's Instagram. My Instagram
That's amazing.
My Instagram is Waves Colville, WAVESCOLVILLE. And I host my own podcast. It's called Version 1, and it's where I interview people about what their creative process is and imposter syndrome and inspirations and things like that. So check that out if you like the sound of my voice.
It's a great sound.
Amazing.
Oh, I will have all of that linked in the show notes. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. This was so awesome.